So, good afternoon. I'm Животченко Valen, a third-year student of the National Aerospace University of the 735th L group. And for your attention, term paper on the topic word formation of aerospace neologisms in Ukrainian and English. Then, first of all, let's pay attention to the relevance of work research. The relevance of this study lies in the need to give a holistic interpretation of the concept of neologisms, to single out their main types and analyze the peculiarities of their word formation in English and Ukrainian languages. Next, the purpose of the study. Achieving the set goal involves the following. To characterize neologism as a linguistic phenomenon, then trace the ways of creating neologisms in Ukrainian and English languages, then consider the peculiarities of the translation of neologisms, then analyze the ways of creating aerospace neologisms. Then the subject of our study is the peculiarities of word formation of aerospace neologisms in Ukrainian and English languages. Neologism as a linguistic phenomenon. Neologisms are one of the categories of the passive vocabulary of native speakers, words that haven't yet come into widespread use. Yet, for a long time, Western linguists considered neologisms to be pathological deviations from the norm. For example, the third Webster's New International Dictionary describes a neologism as, quote, a meaningless word coined by a psychotic, which in turn means a meaningless word coined by a psychopath. Then, so let's consider several classifications of neologisms. The first is neologism actually. The novelty of the form interacts with the novelty of the content. Then transnomination, which includes the novelty of the form of a lexical unit with a meaning that has already been transmitted before, but in a different form. Then semantic innovation or reinterpretation is a new meaning, is expressed in a form that already existed in the language. Then method of creation of neologisms. So let's see how neologisms are divided according to the method of creation. First is phonological. The group of phonological neologism can conditionally include new lexical units that are formed from exclamations. Then loan. Loan is one of the most important in the English language. Loans plays a rather important role in the 13th and 14th centuries, when three languages existed simultaneously. In England, English, the language of the majority of the population, French, the language of schools, legislative and state bodies, and Latin, the language of science and the church. Then ways of creating neologisms in Ukrainian and English. In modern linguistic studies, the following methods of word formation are distinguished. The first as affixation, prefixation, suffixation. The word-forming structure of a newly created word requires the presence of three mandatory components: a root or base, an affix, and a modal by which the affix is attached to the base. Then among productive prefixes following are distinguished super, anti, de, re, post, not, ne, mini in the Ukrainian language. The productive prefixes of neologisms are anti, ne, bez. The prefixes ras, pere, de give the root meaning of repeated or reversed action. Ukrainian prefixes specify the temporal and spatial coordinates of the root and pre, op, o. Among the English prefixes, the following can be distinguished. Prefixes with the meaning of negation of English: an, in, ir, il, im. For example, irreplaceable, impossible, and so on. Then prefixes specifying the temporal and spatial coordinates of the root: pre, post, super. Then suffixes. The suffixal method of creation is mainly implemented on the basis of specific Ukrainian vocabulary with appropriate word forming elements. For example, to indicate a person, productive suffixes in the Ukrainian language are ar, ir, or, tel, and so on. In English language, there are suffixes er, ar, or, ist, es. For example, teacher, pastor, sadness, decision. Then phonological aerospace neologisms. In the process of researching the peculiarities of aerospace neologisms, the following types of phonological neologisms were discovered. First is the lexical units that were formed from exclamations. For example, wow is floating, a change in pitch of sound. This example demonstrates that use of the aerospace neologism wow, which is considered an exclamation in everyday life. Then slangisms. Yell, it's deviation from the course, demolition. Then pancake, parachuting, landing with a parachute. In this example, the word pancake is used as an aerospace term with meaning parachuting. Then sound imitation, shoot down. Then Darwin neologisms. It was found out that most of an English aerospace neologisms borrowings were transferred to the Ukrainian language with the help of translational transformations of transliteration and transcription. For example, microphone is transliteration. Transcription is model, parachute, parachutist. Then irregular ways of creating neologisms. It was found at the telescope abbreviation. It was found out that the irregular ways of word formation of English and Ukrainian aerospace neologisms are telescoping and abbreviation. Let's consider these ways of word formation in more detail. Telescope. This method consists in creating neologisms by joining two bases. For example, airborne, spaceborne, water spout, wind tunnel. Abbreviations: NEPS, Nuclear Electric Propulsion System, NERC, National Environmental Research Council, then NHP, Nominal Horsepower. Then Then in the process of research in aerospace neologisms, which were formed using the phonological method, it was found that this method of word formation is based on the methods of formation of neologisms based on exclamations, stangism, with the help of sound imitation and by using Greek affixes. It has been proven that quite often Ukrainian aerospace neologisms are borrowed from English and translated into Ukrainian using translation transformations such as transliteration and transcription. At the word formation level, aerospace neologisms in English and Ukrainian language are characterized by intensive use of suffixation and prefixation methods, irregular ways of translating English and Ukrainian aerospace neologisms are telescoping and shortening. This concludes, and thank you for your attention.